And before anything, just do him first?
Just read that part.
Oh, that's right, I'm so sorry. As required by law, the town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Oh, hi, Kevin.
Wow, that was quick.
Computer program. Tuesday and Wednesday, the nurses were out like a half hour late. Some of us catch on a little quicker.
So, do you want to go right to?
It's if you don't mind, but it's
That's
obviously
absolutely
completely
fine.
your
Okay, so, Jen, can you read the public notices that were done for this public hearing?
Me?
Somebody?
To solicit public comment on the proposed fuel storage regulation.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing, and please come forward and present what you have.
Good evening, I'm the fire inspector in town. I've been before the board before to try and get this legislation through on single-wall oil tanks, that if your property is 15 years or older and it's gonna go up for sale, that tank needs to be replaced with a double-wall oil tank. I guess there were some questions from the board on a couple more items. If you're gonna put a double-wall tank on the outside of your house, it does come with a hood to protect it from the weather. That way it's not out in the open. I know that was one of the concerns from the board. I don't know if there was something else.
All right.
Basically, what we're trying to do here is prevent any more oil leaks in people's basements. It's a quite
Right.
expensive cleanup. And the best way to do that is to require that when they sell their home.
Okay. I think the board will make comments after I close the hearing, so,
Thank you.
is there anybody here or on the phone that would like to make any comments? Okay, so hearing nobody, I want to make a motion to close the hearing
Second.
first. I want someone to make the motion, I'm sorry.
Okay. Make a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, second? Okay,
I'll second.
okay. The hearing is closed, and now we'll take board discussion.
I mean, I'm wholeheartedly behind it. I have no problems with the 15 years and requiring it to be replaced.
Okay,
In favor.
any comments from you?
Can you examine these? I mean, how many oil, I think we talked about this last meeting, but how many oil tanks are out there outside?
Can you go
Outside
to the
tanks?
Can you go to the
These are,
microphone?
this is all the oil tanks, not only inside but outside as well.
Yeah.
If you go up into a development like Headwaters, 90% of those are still oil tanks in the basement. They're 40 years old. They have been changing them out on their own. South Harwich is another one. We had 3 tanks let go this past year. So I would say half the town still has oil tanks, and the other half is either propane or natural gas.
Interesting. Why don't you inspect them more often?
I'm only allowed into your house when you do a resale. I just don't, people don't call and say, can you come and inspect my oil tank?
Is there a record in the town of people in town who have oil tanks? In other words,
I could go back through the building permit and find out whether it's gonna be oil, natural gas, or propane.
yeah, but it would seem to me, I mean, if when I had my oil tank in the yard, in front of my office, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tagged it maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago, and then we took it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that's gonna do the most of that is your oil delivery guy. He's the one that's touching that tank every month. And he's the one that's gonna say, I think your tank needs to be replaced. The fire department really doesn't get involved unless I'm going into the house on a resale.
Yeah,
That's why I'm trying to add this legislation to
Yeah.
that,
I would think so, yes.
yeah.
Good. I'm all set. Sharon?
I have some questions.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Okay, under the variances, where you're talking about the, tank or the tank for 10 years, all right? And then if it's been inspected and certified with the current regulations, at 10 years of age, the single-walled tank would be required to be replaced with a double-walled tank to provide 110% containment. So you're talking about if a house gets sold,
Yes,
and it's more than 10 years, they would have to replace it.
yes.
If it doesn't get sold, does somebody inspect that?
Probably not. That tank's just gonna sit in somebody's basement until either it gets sold or the tank fails. Or the oil peddler, or the oil man comes and says, I think it's time for you to replace your tank.
All right, so let me ask another silly question.
They're not silly.
In order to have them inspected, all right, like we say, your septic system should be inspected every 2 to 3 years. It's not required,
No.
but do we have anything in place that tells people, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't even think about having their tanks inspected.
No.
Is there something that we, as the town, can do to include that, either, it may be the wrong place, a bylaw, or somewhere that says, at 10 years, you should have this inspected? Is there anything like that that should be done?
There's no legislation like that right now in the town.
But is there anything like that in other towns?
That I would have to research, but I would probably say no.
Oh, okay,
This legislation's been passed by Chatham and Brewster so far.
okay.
And Dennis just went to this too as well.
All right, all right, all right, then the only other question I had was, and I've looked this up, and I've talked, it's eluding me. Under the variances, number 1, enforcement thereof would do manifest unjust.
Yes.
Now, I can't imagine there's too many people that are going to understand that, including myself.
I had to look it up myself. So, and I think what it means is, if you sell your property, or you're in the process of selling your property, and your house is 15 years old or 20 years old, and you think that your oil tank is okay, you can come to me, to the fire department, and say, I want you to inspect my tank because I don't think it needs to be replaced.
And it would cost too much money to replace.
Okay.
It's typically
It
as
usually
a,
comes down to the money, how
money.
much it's
Yeah.
gonna cost it.
Is there any thought of making that a little clearer, or are you just going to assume somebody in that position would ask?
it is common verbiage under
Oh, it is?
variances.
Okay.
We have it in our Board of Health variances, we have it in Title V.
Okay, all right. All right, that answered my question.
I
Other
mean, and
than,
anybody can come to the fire department and, when they're selling their property, and say, can you take a look at my oil tank? Do you think it needs to be replaced?
yeah. Okay, then I have another one that's just cosmetic. Is it possible to space between, you know how you're spacing between A, B, and C to make it easier to read? Can we space between the numbered ones instead of having it look like this huge paragraph? I just think it's easier for people to read.
Sure,
It's cosmetic, but,
we can do that.
okay. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
You didn't have, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So, do I hear a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the, fuel storage regulations from the fire department
As presented.
as presented.
We can change, the spacing doesn't
Yeah,
have to be.
all right.
okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're gonna review the minutes from the previous meeting of March 15th. Any corrections or changes? None? Okay, do I hear a motion to have the minutes passed?
Make a motion to pass them.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous? Okay, thank you. Okay. You're up next, right?
Do you want me to read it? Joint
Um,
meeting, well, it's
Are we
no
going to
longer a
do the
joint
co-
meeting.
Are we gonna do the COVID update?
If that's what you want next, I can do
Isn't that next, or am I?
It's supposed to be the
Oh,
joint meeting.
I'm sorry,
but-
okay, okay, because Leo's here, yes, okay. So the Board of Health work session on joint meeting with the Agricultural Commission, which is not going to happen tonight. And we can discuss the revisions of the Town of Harwich animal regulations. This, I do not have to open anything because it's just a discussion.
Mhm.
Okay. Any board discussion?
I mean, I know we've talked about this before, and I really think at this point, a lot of the questions that at least I want to ask, I think you as well, Sharon, really want the agricultural committee here to ask them those questions.
All right, if you don't mind, I'll jump ahead and try to explain what's happening here.
Please do.
Okay, when I put this together, I took a look at the different towns here on the Cape and tried to compile what they were using. Being a novice at this, it then came to my attention that if we put it in these regulations, then the Board of Health also has to regulate it and inspect it, all right? So, from what I'm understanding is, basically, we do the pigs, the horses, dogs.
It's not technically
Not,
us.
okay, all right, not technically. So, working with some of the other people here at the town, we revised that to include, just to these 2 pages that you'll see in your packet compared to the book that I wrote. My comment on that, and then we can get comments from the ag people as well then. Some of the things that were changed, I'm looking at the minimum distance requirements. I really would like it if somebody till the next meeting, you take a look and see whether you agree with it. The one for piggery, the abutter's dwelling, I thought 100 feet was a lot compared to in comparison to the other towns, all right? That was my biggest concern on that. The other things is, I would still like to separate out, first of all, I do want to add some of the definitions that apply just to what we're going to regulate. Not all the definitions that I have in the one that I started out with. So that would be cut down to quite a few. My other thing is, I would like to separate it out under the animal care and construction. In other words, let's say for the equines, the animal care for that and the construction, and then the piggeries, the animal care and construction. Other than that,
What would you want to call the second half?
in other words, like animal care and then construction, in other words,
Oh, two separate, okay.
for the equines, and then the same thing for the pigs
So
and
like section
piggeries.
5A and then section 5B, like
It would probably
separate
be
all
section
those.
5, A and B,
Whatever,
and
two
section
subheadings
6
underneath.
would be A and B then.
And so have the first one animal care and then the
Yeah.
second section construction.
That's my thought on that. And then I would space in between those again. But other than that, but for the actual of what's in it, I guess I wasn't clear as to what, I guess the other towns aren't right to farm.
May I, through the chair?
Go ahead.
So no, that's not totally correct.
Okay.
Other towns are
So-
right to farm.
but-
Each town is very different. Harwich has a much richer farming history than Yarmouth or Dennis.
Okay.
Really, a right to farm is an intent. It's to let someone know you're moving to Harwich. We prioritize farming. So the intent is so you're not complaining about your neighbors, really.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that there are no regulations.
All right, so that brings me up to my other, I should say concern, but thing that I would want to discuss. If we don't regulate the sheep and the goats and the chickens, then the farmers that want to do something, what do they turn to?
So there are agricultural guidelines from the state. We still do regulate if it's a nuisance, so if it's causing odors,
Or if it's a
noise,
health issue.
rodents. If there's a health issue, we do have other nuisance regulations. There are other animal cruelty regulations that the animal control officer would regulate.
Okay.
So just because we don't have a set requirement for a stable for sheep, doesn't mean that people can do whatever they want. They still have to adhere to nuisances, animal cruelty regulations. It doesn't mean that there's no regulation.
Okay, then, all right, then as far as the minimum distance requirements, let's say it's for sheep, then what do they use? We have, if we're gonna have pigs and equines, what do they use for these requirements if we don't give them to them?
So it would fall back on zoning for the
All right.
buildings.
Do we have those zoning laws?
That specifically call out sheep, I'm not sure. I know pigs are called out in the zoning.
I think the pigs and the horses.
But it would be the structures at that point. And it would fall back on the nuisance, if it's causing an odor, if it's causing manure management problems.
All right, then it would be up to the individual farmer to contact zoning to find out what it would be.
And over 5 acres, they're exempt from some of the zoning, but the zoning compliance officer makes that final determination. So they wouldn't necessarily be exempt from some of the Board of Health, but if it's a zoning one, it may be exempt.
I don't think I had that in here.
And that wouldn't be our regulation, that would be zoning's
All right, see,
regulation.
that's, okay,
So the purpose of the public health, the Board of Health
Just the-
regulations are public health issues.
just strictly public health.
I know there's a big concern right now that people want over-regulation, and I don't think the board would be wise to do that. We need to
I
focus
would-
on public health issues.
I don't think we have the manpower to do that. I guess my thing, if I were a farmer, my concern would be, okay, I wanna do this. Nobody's telling me what I can do. So I'm gonna do what I want. And then somebody comes back and says, oh, you can't do that. So what kind of structure can we give the farmers that want to do this?
I think it's multifaceted. I think Board of Health obviously needs to be involved, but I do think zoning needs to be involved, and town meeting needs to have some bylaw changes.
All right,
So I
and then
think it's a
who-
multifaceted approach. It's not gonna be a one-size-fits-all just in the Board of Health regs.
Who who initiates changes in the zoning and bylaws? Would
So
that
s-
come from us then?
Zoning would initially start with the ZBA, with the board, or planning board, excuse me. They would bring it to the Board of Selectmen that they want a change, and there's a public hearing process that eventually would end in town meeting to perpetuate it for pass or fail. Board of Health is a little different. You have public hearings, you can create your own regulations through the public hearing process. Any bylaw or zoning change has to go through town meeting.
Okay, so then when we meet with the agricultural committee, then we can work out what they would like to see and then,
So it would be their recommendations, none of you are farmers. That would be an appropriate ask of, is 100 feet to an abutter's dwelling an appropriate amount? So we're not necessarily trying to see what they want to regulate because it's the Board of Health and public health issues. But it would be an appropriate question of, is 100 feet to a piggery, to an abutter's property a sufficient amount? Is that too little? Is that too much? I don't know.
all right, then when we meet with them, even though it's not a Board of Health issue, are we able to discuss, having, if they want something that we can't, we as the board can't, Board of Health can't regulate, can we work with them, with the Board of Selectmen and the,
We could recommend, an avenue for them to take.
all right, okay, that's kind of where I was coming from, because I, after talking with John, I realized, we don't have the manpower to regulate everything. It was just, in lieu of not having something, you do what you want, or what you think is okay. And I just think, if the farmers are trying to do the right thing, then I think we need to help them in getting to that point.
And maybe it is appropriate if you have setbacks for other animals, but don't necessarily regulate them to the,
Yeah.
to the nth degree.
Yeah, all right.
Because we
that-
do have all animal cruelty and nuisance and other regulations in place.
All right,
So we
okay.
try to think of manure management, all the public health concerns that you would have.
All right. Okay, I
Would be
think,
my recommendation.
all right, that kind of gives me something to go on when I redo this. So, that's all I have. Sorry about that.
Anybody else on the board have a comment?
Just kind of on that line, if somewhere on here can we put something that says, if not specifically stated here in Board of Health regulations, that, please seek out, like, the zoning board as, for them to look for those additional regulations?
You could
Yeah, all right,
absolutely.
that would, I think, once we decide what we are and aren't going to do with this, yeah, I think that would be appropriate, absolutely. Yeah, I do.
Good,
Okay.
I agree.
Leo, can you state your name and speak?
Thank you very much. My name is Leo Kakunis. I'm a farmer in town. I presently have 33 acres on Main Street and also 17 acres on Old Factory Road, or I should say Factory Road in North Harwich. I'm a cranberry grower, have been a pork producer, cows, meat. We sold whole animals and pieces of meat. I'm USDA approved to sell cuts of meat. I was the president of Cape and Islands Farm Bureau for 20 years. Those of you that don't know me on the board, I have spent many hours of my life arguing in different courts across the Commonwealth, not only town things, but actually state, and haven't been to the federal court yet, and arguing the rights to farm, and specifically Massachusetts General Law 40A, which, allows exemptions to certain farmers who have 5 acres or more. Just so you'll know, when Governor Deval Patrick decided to sign the extension to that Massachusetts general law, which dropped the exemptions from 5 acres down to 2 acres or more, as long as you can show that you produce $1,000 worth of agricultural product being produced on that property, I immediately resigned from Farm Bureau, and I immediately stopped defending farmers. The problem that you are faced with today all stems from that one action. And I would hope that if I cry loud enough and yell loud enough, I will be able to get a bunch of people together to reverse that state law. For the state of Massachusetts to tell the town of Harwich that if an individual has 2 acres of land and produces $1,000 worth of agricultural crop on that 2 acres of land, they now can be considered a commercial agricultural operation. And many have argued, some have won, some have lost, that they are now entitled to the exemptions given to them under that Massachusetts general law. That, to me, was the beginning of the end of agriculture as we see it in Massachusetts. The regulations that you are looking forth today, an individual like myself who has 17 acres of land, I don't have a neighbor next to me within 100 feet. I don't care if you put 500 feet distance from another neighbor's house. But for you to tell me that I cannot have 5 sows And when those sows give birth, if I'm lucky, they will have 10 babies each. 5 times 10 is now 50. And I choose to raise those 50 to a slaughter weight of 200 pounds so that I can get a decent cut of meat to give to my people that I'm trying to sell to. For you to try to regulate that by numbers is basically going to kill a true agricultural operation trying to raise meat.
Can I ask you a question there?
Yes.
Is the state doing that now?
State did that by virtually putting into that Massachusetts general law that someone on a 2-acre parcel of land can claim that they are a commercial agricultural operation. So what I said back when I testified and got in front of the then Governor Patrick and pleaded him not to sign this, I said that someone in a subdivision is going to have 2 acres of land, they're going to sell $1,000 worth of eggs, and the next thing you know, they're gonna be raising pigs and goats and sheep and cows, and they're gonna be having tractor trailers coming and going into that subdivision, and it's not fair to the neighbors. I find myself in a kind of a funny spot, because 25 years ago, I had 2 acres of land in Harwich, in South Harwich, right on Route 28, on the road to the Red River Beach. It was zoned commercial agriculture at the time. I ran a commercial farm there. I had 300 chickens on 2 acres of land. If anyone at that time didn't have the respect for the neighbors, it was me. And I feel bad about that, and I regret it. But my neighbors and I came to a decision, and I moved on. But I still would argue that a commercial agricultural operation does not belong on a 2-acre parcel of land. I don't care who you are, I don't care how good of a job you're doing. You don't run a commercial agricultural operation on a 2-acre parcel, period. You know, that's why state law before limited it to 5 acres, because they knew that the setback requirements were a necessity. If you have 5 acres of land that you're dedicating to agricultural operation, you immediately have the ability to have a setback from your neighbors. You have a setback for what you are concerned about, which is public nuisance. What is public nuisance? Flies, odor, things like that. On a 5-acre parcel, you can control that. On a 2-acre parcel, you can't. I hope, I don't have the new regulations that you talked about earlier that you have changed. I've been told about some of the stuff that was in the previous large, thick document.
Yeah.
I just encourage you, as a board that's going through this, that in your minds somehow deal with the difference between someone who has 5 acres and more and truly is running a commercial agricultural operation, and someone who's on a 2-acre lot and claiming that they're a farm.
Would we even be allowed to do that? If
You
the-
can do it by virtually setbacks. You can do it virtually by setbacks. Don't govern the amount of pigs someone can have, because you immediately put me out of business. If I can't have 15 slaughter weight pigs ready to go to the abattoir, I am not going to have the adequate cuts of meat I need. If I bring 5 pigs, I'm going to immediately sell out of, I'm not going to have enough for bacon, I'm not going to have enough for good sausages, and I'm going to immediately sell out of 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to have 10 smoked hams to sell. So I'm going to immediately sell out of those. If I have 30 slaughter weight pigs to bring in, my meat cut changes, and this all comes down to me. I don't want to bore you, but believe me, it's all dollars and cents. If I got to drive to the abattoir, to the slaughterhouse, if I have to drive to the freezers, if I have to drive to the packaging plants and bring it all back, the more I bring back, the better it is in dollars and cents wise. Any commercial operation that's telling you they're going to bring 1 or 2 pigs in to be slaughtered, they're not doing this to make money. They're just doing this to aggravate the neighbors. You can't make money with 1 or 2 pigs. You just can't, you know. And 1 or 2 sows, again, a sow gives birth. You want them to have 10 pigs, babies. If they don't, it's not worth it.
All right, now this is going to show my ignorance again. Does the state currently regulate the number of, let's say, like, how many pigs you can have per acreage, or cows, or?
There's no state regulations. There are animal health, and, I'm missing the word, they're like suggestions on good animal practices, I should say. I mean, I have CDs and,
All right.
and the old,
right.
three-leaf binders I'd be happy to share with you about good animal practices. But there's no actual written number down as so much per acre. I mean, when I was raising sheep, I wasn't sure how many sheep would a pasture be able to maintain. So I had to look at, you know, I mean, would you know, is 10 sheep okay on a half acre? Is that going to sustain them, or do you need, you know, 10 acres for 10 sheep? So there are books that you referred to and pamphlets, but there's no actual state law that limits you on numbers. Now, the states saw it within their purview, which I think is actually good. And, you know, I've dealt with a lot of Board of Health agents throughout the Cape, and every one of them will tell you that, you know, I understand there's a necessity for this stuff. The state in their purview gave you a little bit more authority under, I think it's 111, Chapter 1, Mass General Law 111, about piggeries, because of the fact of the impact of their nuisance, if you will. The only way at this time that I see you being able to have easily understood regulations with commercial farms because of that 2-acre exemption thing that happened is by setback requirements, not number of animals. Because number of animals, you can go out and get evidence, and I'm going to go get evidence, and neither one of us are going to be right, because mine are going to be inflated and yours are going to be deflated. You know what I mean? There's really no go-to thing for number of animals. Setback, though, is pretty standard. You know, it's pretty standard. The other thing, you know, pigs, I hate to say it, but pigs are one of the cleanest farm animals there are. Unfortunately, it's the farmers that are, I'll use the acronym, pigs, because they don't pick up after them. If I had 20 pigs right now in this parking lot, you know, on that hot top, and I fed them good grain, and I cleaned up after them, I'm telling you right now, you would never know they were there. You would never know they were there. I've had cases where I've gone with other Board of Health agents to farmers who feed brewers hops because they get it for free. And if you've ever been within 400 feet of a brewer's hops pile that has been exposed to the rain and the sun, and then some farmer drives a tractor into it on a beautiful summer day, I'm telling you right now, the stink will evaporate, you know, will evacuate a neighborhood. It's bad. So, you know, it's things like that that make and give bad name to agriculture or farming, because it's that practice that really needs to be looked at. We have talked in length, and I've certainly worked with, you know, the previous health agent, Paula Champagne, and I worked for endless hours on manure management, because it's the stockpile of manure that's the key. It's not really the animal, you know. But again, the only thing, I haven't seen your finished documents, but I will encourage you that in order to regulate what is truly the problem, especially here in Harwich, okay? I've been here for 35 years. Jimmy Marceline and I raised cows for right up until his death, you know? We raised pigs right up until his death. I had pigs on my property. I had cows on 28. You can go through the file. I don't have one complaint against me from a neighbor, not one. The only time I've ever had complaints ever sent against me was when I had 2 acres of land in South Harwich, and it was because of a rooster crowing, not because of the way my animals smelled or the way I was managing the farm. So the only way you can manage the problem that we have in this town right now, and the problem that's really going across the Commonwealth, is people who have 2 acres of land and are trying to have a commercial agricultural operation in the middle of a neighborhood. And the only way you can handle that is by setback. So I think 100 feet is fine.
All right.
100 feet from the lot line, I'd say 100 feet from a well.
Yeah, but I think that was in one of the regulations that I was looking at. I think they did actually give me, that's for the different wells. And there was one.
Yeah, it's still in there.
Yeah, 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 those I think were in some of the requirements that I saw. I didn't see the requirements for this, but you're saying the abutters is what we would have.
I had just plugged that in as a placeholder, that 100.
Oh,
abutters
okay,
dwelling.
okay, because that wasn't what I had originally.
I had upped it a little
Yeah,
bit.
but now I see where you're coming from. All right, that was helpful.
It's difficult, you know? But again, as a guy that's got 17 acres of land, I'm very sorry, and I don't mean this insulting in any way, but there's no way you're gonna tell me how many sows I can have. I mean, I'm out of business.
Yeah,
If you're gonna limit me to 3 sows with keeping 3 of the feeder pigs or 5 of the feeder pigs, I'm out of business.
yeah,
I'm literally out of business. And I am a agricultural business. That's what I do. I am a farmer. I'm not a, whatever. I'm just, you know what I mean? I don't have 2 acres of land in the middle of a subdivision and I'm
Yeah.
playing farmer, you know? I'm not.
okay,
And, you know, you guys go, you have, this is a problem. It's a
Yeah.
problem that's gonna be across the Commonwealth, you know? I don't even wanna get into the rats. We'll get into that another time. The rats in this town are gonna be horrible, horrible. But we're gonna be facing that soon.
Yeah.
And believe me, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, is gonna come out of this, so. But I appreciate your time and I'm available. I am not on the Ag Commission. I am not affiliated with any of Farm Bureau anymore. I'm not affiliated with the state in any way anymore. So I'm very happy to come in and give you a non-biased, my personal farmer opinion, period. You know, I know that everybody kind of has their little world, but after they passed that law, I was done. Because I couldn't see myself standing up in a courtroom and defending someone.
When did they pass that?
Well, Deval Patrick signed it, so how long has Baker been governor? 6 years?
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
2 terms,
I mean,
2 terms.
yeah. So it's been a while.
You can take my copy if you want. It has
Thank
some
you. I
scribbles on it, but.
But I am proud to say that I testified at the State House against that, and I was the only farmer there testifying against it. Because everybody tried to sell it as this feel-good, supporting agriculture, and, you know, people are gonna sell eggs in their little farm stand in front of their houses.
yeah,
I said, fine, but at least put in there that the town of Harwich can adopt that part of the regulation, if the town of Harwich wants to. But that's, from what I understand from the legal people, that's not what they did. It's just
Okay.
a blanket thing, so.
all right.
The only other comment I have is on the right to farm. Right to farm means nothing. Absolutely means nothing. I wrote it, the one that the town has adopted, I wrote. I put it in by petition. The only thing a right to farm does is it just makes someone coming to Harwich realize that Harwich supports agriculture. There is no teeth to it, there is no laws attached to it, other than the fact that you recognize Massachusetts general law, and when I wrote it, it was before they adopted the 2-acre parcel. So that's why I was strongly for it, but there's no legal attachment to it, other than just advising people that this town recognizes not only 128, 1A, but 48, was section 3, I think. So,
Okay.
Period, all right?
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, I
Thank
appreciate it very much. Thanks for your time, too. Sorry to
Nope.
pop in.
No, I
That was very
appreciate
helpful.
it. Very
That was
helpful,
very
yes.
helpful.
Anytime. I'm free for telephone calls, too,
That
anytime.
number of
Okay.
pigs question was one of the major questions I had for the agricultural group, so I'm glad you addressed that.
Yeah.
But I'm available even for phone calls, too.
Okay, thank you.
guys. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
very much.
Thanks for your time.
Have a good night.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Where are we?
So we should go to new business,
Do you have the COVID update?
COVID update,
Do the
okay?
COVID up here.
Harwich has seen a total of 1,947 cases of COVID, and 59 deaths to date. The state changed the way it calculated deaths, so we actually were reduced by, I think, 8 from my last COVID update. We are currently tracking, as of today, it was 14 active cases. I think that number's a little lower than it actually is right now. There's a lot of home tests being done that are not reported. We actually believe there is a little surge going on, but because none of the home tests are being reported, we're not really sure. Luckily, the Omicron variant that we're seeing now is very mild. Most of the symptoms that are reported are just cold-like symptoms. And fortunately, our population is highly vaccinated. We have 86% of eligible individuals vaccinated in town, which is great. Attached to the COVID update, you'll see kind of a thank you to all the boards of health and health departments from the state, and a kind of protect yourself, your family, and your community poster that the state recently has announced as well. Brief COVID update this month.
Okay. Any old unfinished business? I'm sorry, I can't see.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll go to new business. Hearing, I don't know how to say that. Posia? 7 Herring Road, Brun Road, to consider order of conditions granted on June 18th, 2002. There will be no increase in square footage, habitable space, or number of bedrooms to the dwelling beyond those that were shown on the plan dated May 30, 2002. Applicant is requesting to convert the 2 garages into a bedroom and habitable space. Hi.
Hi, how are you? I'm Pietro Poggio. You can call me Peter, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
Yes, we purchased this home about a year ago. And our contractor, we were getting a lot of water in the garage. And as we call it, a lot of critters were coming through because we have the Herring River in the back. And they were making a form of a shelter in our garage. I'm in no way gonna be a farmer because of it. So he advised, why don't you just close it off? The home is an older home. My truck won't fit in there. My wife's car won't fit in there. And unfortunately, we have a large family. I'm an only child. My wife is one of 6. So we multiplied just like the pigs. And just last week alone, we were 11 people between nieces and nephews and our own kids. And we sure could use the space.
Okay.
And
Discussion.
just so you're aware, we haven't rented it out, our home. We have no plans to rent out our home. It is truly our home. It was a bit run down when we purchased it. We did spend a lot of time renovating it. And by renovating it, really just bringing back the home itself. The nice thing, it was built in, I believe, 68. It had the original hardwood floors throughout, so we restored those. And, tried to maintain it. That's pretty much it. We aren't here often enough. I did come up from New York today, so I'm on my own mini vacation because no one's with me, which is great. And I've been put to work by my household crew in running errands this weekend, and one of the was meeting everyone here.
The director, do you have a suggestion, recommendation?
Yep, I would recommend to approve the reconsideration of previous conditions placed on June 18th, 2002 at 7 Herring River Road with the following conditions. I would recommend restricting it to the 5 bedrooms maximum with no further increase in square footage or habitable space from what is currently proposed in the application without further review by the Board of Health. Approval to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, and all prior conditions should still apply.
Okay, comments from the board? Questions?
I just have a couple.
Sure.
Okay, 2, right?
2. Okay, it might be 3.
That's okay.
I'm looking at the basement. These are just questions. Is there going to be a bathroom facility down there?
We're considering it. In New York, we have sewer connection.
Okay.
Here we have septic, and we're exploring a pump possibility, because it's lower than the septic. Because the house, the driveway slopes down a little bit, so it's on grade.
Yeah,
However, you know, the septic
yeah,
is
would
in
have
the
to come
front end.
uphill.
The 2002 variance, they moved the septic from the rear of the house to, I'd call it the side front of the house.
Okay.
I guess they were replacing it at the time.
Okay,
So, yes, we are looking into it, against my choice, because my wife feels that, you know, if you're having a bedroom down there or even a room, it's kind of strange to having to go shower upstairs.
yeah, I would
Now,
agree.
the septic itself, I believe, is for a 5-bedroom,
Yes,
so it does meet the
it
requirement.
does mean, I was just curious if you.
So if
were-
I'm, just real quick, if you do the pump in the basement, talk to us before, because you can only do certain pumps in Harwich.
Oh,
So
okay.
before you purchase the pump,
Okay, yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't even looking, honestly, I was looking just to close off the wall and call it a day, and then,
Mushrooms.
yes.
Okay, the other question, and it really is just on the second floor. So there is what, 2 bathrooms?
You're talking the top, what I'll call the top floor?
Second floor.
So there's the basement, garage level,
First
the
floor.
first floor,
And the second floor.
and the second floor, yes, because what we thought when we were told it was 2 bathrooms, okay, but really it was only a half bath on the first floor.
Right,
So we added a second bathroom upstairs.
okay, so
Okay.
that's what the, that's what the existing bath is.
No, on the first floor, yes.
No, on the second floor.
There was an existing bathroom, and I put, or we
Another one
added
in.
a second bathroom right behind it, so the plumbing goes back to back.
All right, all right. I was just,
We lost closet space, I literally made a closet, a bathroom out of a closet,
oh,
yeah.
that's handy. Okay, that was my only question.
No other comments?
Hi, neighbor.
Oh, do you live on,
15 Herring Run Road.
I'm 7, are you in the cul-de-sac?
A little, not quite the cul-de-sac, just before the turn.
So I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We're not here often enough, so I apologize. Wait, was that you in a blue pickup?
No, not a blue
Okay.
pickup.
Oh, and I just left coming down here.
No. I came here straight from work today,
Okay,
so.
yeah, we're right next to, they just sold those, that garage and shed.
Yeah, the little, like, red one with the,
Right.
so,
Right, so we're the blue one now.
okay.
Yep.
Know exactly where you are.
More than welcome to stop by. I'll show you the basement.
Do I hear a
Okay,
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the reconsideration of a previous condition placed on June 18th, 2002 for the property located at 7 Herring Run Road with the following conditions. Do we have to list the conditions? Okay. The property is restricted to 5 bedrooms maximum. No further increase in square footage or habitable space from what is currently proposed in the application without review by the Board of Health. Approval to be recorded with the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. All other conditions still apply. Do we want to add that they should contact you before?
that's okay.
That's
We would
okay.
catch it in the building
All
permit.
right.
I'm sure the plumbing inspector will probably know whichever requirement there is.
Second that motion?
Kim, go ahead.
One of us will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
No denials, we're all in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you're all
So you
welcome
can
to come
apply,
over.
you can apply for the building, the other half of that building permit
Okay, so I
now.
could just let my contractor know and he can apply for that.
Yep, so we'll still have to get it recorded, but you don't need to have it recorded to apply for that other half.
Very good. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate your time.
Good luck.
Thanks. See you, Dave.
You got it.
I don't see anybody else.
They're online.
Oh,
Okay,
I was going to say.
okay. Hearing Eastwood Companies, 12 Bascom Hollow and 1512 Orleans Road, request to extend certificate of conformance that was issued at the May 14th, 2018 Board of Health meeting. Vote to accept or deny this, and I open the hearing. Someone wants to...
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Susan Ledoux from Eastern Companies. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm here. David Clark is also on the call. And we were before the Board of Health in 2018 with an 8-lot subdivision. And looking at the schedule for the sewer at the time, we knew it would be a little bit in the future, but we agreed to limit the building of 4 lots in the subdivision to be served by a community system until such time that the sewer came online. And we were back before the board. I guess the sewer was delayed as far as installation and coming online. So we were back before the board in 2020 to extend the certificate of conformance and then allow the 4 remaining building lots to have individual systems with IA technology. And so we have a new home being built on lot 1. The other lots have been built out except for lot 8. So we're going to be starting a new house on lot 4, and actually we're starting it next week. And both of those have individual septic systems with IA technology. And last year we acquired a lot adjacent to Bascom Hollow, and we redivided that lot and combined it with an existing lot in the subdivision. And so if you have my letter, page 2, it's with the attached A&R plan, we've redivided the land adjacent to Bascom Hollow in 2021 with the existing subdivision lots. This plan shows the following. I don't know if you have the plan in front of you that shows in red on the lots, but 16 Bascom Hollow was lot 8, or now is 8A, and it's a lot within the original subdivision, and it's already covered by the conditions of the previous COC. 1522 Orleans Road, lot 11, is a lot with an existing house and garage, and that has its own existing septic system. It was not part of the original subdivision, so that's why it already had its own existing system. But we reconfigured that to help with the lots that we've added to the subdivision. 1512 Orleans Road, or lot 10, was originally a standalone building lot with its legal frontage on Orleans Road, and could have been developed with an individual system as such, and was now reconfigured and has frontage on Bascom Hollow also. So that is now part of the subdivision. And then 12 Bascom Hollow, or lot 9, is a newly created building lot in the subdivision. So with the additional lots in the current timetable from the sewer system, we met with Dan Pelletier and Katie to talk about our options with this, and we're now requesting an extension to the Board of Health certificate of compliance to allow these 2 additional building lots to also have individual systems with IA technology. And then as soon as the sewer comes online, we look at connecting everything, that because we do have that line in the road. However, to add to the existing shared system is, we'd have to replace the whole system in order to do that. I'll let David jump in now so he can talk to you about the revised environmental impact statement.
Good evening, David Clark, Clark Engineering. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, good. So as Susan described, the original subdivision was conditioned for the first 4 lots to be developed with a shared Title V system. And so that system exists. 4 houses are connected to it. The system is out by Route 39 at the beginning of the subdivision. So the whole subdivision has been sewered so that all the lots can go down towards 39 in the future to hook into sewer. But right now, only 4 lots are connected. And also, as Susan stated, 3 lots are been developed with individual IA systems, and Lot 8 of the original subdivision has not been developed. So the idea is, and I presented or submitted nitrogen loading calculations to incorporate the 3 additional lots that are now part of the subdivision. And so it shows that the nitrogen loading, based upon these 3 additional lots having individual IA systems. So the proposal would be to extend the previous approval by the board to include these 3 lots with the requirement that they have individual IA systems. I know that the 2020 conditions the board imposed that if the sewer was not passed at that fall town meeting, that all the systems would have IA. I looked at that with Eastwood Companies to modify the shared system, and it's been set up in such a way that we would actually have to redo the leach field in order to add a treatment to that, because it was set up without IA technology, and the original approval by the board did not require IA or put a contingency for IA, and so it was not foreseeable to Eastwood Companies or me, the engineer, to set it up for IA technology. So at this point, if we were to retrofit it, we would have to take out the existing leach field and add an IA component to it and then rebuild the leach field. So, and the other problem with doing that is those 4 properties have been conveyed by Eastwood Companies, so there's a logistical problem in having somebody responsible for the O&M, because those properties were sold free and clear of any encumbrance of a requirement for IA technology. So at this point, we would be looking for the board to allow for these 3 additional lots to be developed with individual IA technology. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Should we close and then questions?
I close the hearing, recommendation, or do you want the questions first?
You can have discussion first. and
Okay,
then go over.
discussion from the board?
All right, so if I'm to understand, there's the 4 original lots, and those were approved with IA,
On a community system.
with a Title V.
No, yeah, no IA.
And there's 3 new ones requesting IA to be approved.
So you approved another 2, 4, you released 4 other properties in 2020 with the addition of IA, and this is another 2 properties that they'd like released.
3, is it 3 or 2?
One's existing, so it technically is in the subdivision, but not part of the subdivision plan. It wasn't part of the original. I would still consider it part of the subdivision, but up to this point, none of the other boards have included that in the plan.
How many are hooked up into the sewer system right now?
None of the lots are connected to the municipal sewer system, but 4 lots are connected to the shared system.
Right.
And the whole subdivision was constructed in anticipation of connecting to the sewer. So there is a sewer main within Bascom Hollow Road, and there are stub services to each individual lot, but only 4 lots are connected to that collection system that bring the wastewater down to the shared septic system. The other 3 lots that are already developed have stubs, but the septic systems have been placed in the front yards of those properties so that, once the subdivision is connected to sewer, it's an easy connect without ripping up the street and doing any infrastructure work out in the street, if that makes sense.
Can I just ask for a clarification on that? The ones that are not hooked up to the community system, the four that you said had stubs, the ones that have stubs, are they IA or are they septic?
They are IA. They're individual IA systems.
All right, so
On-
all
on site.
of the lots are either IA or AIs.
IA, except for the four that are on the community system does not have any IA technology.
So
And
how
that
are they-
exists in
so that's
property.
those are septic systems that are connected
So,
to
so
community?
they're all connect, even with the IA, it's still a
Okay.
septic system, it's just an additional treatment.
All right,
So,
okay.
so the ones that don't have the additional treatment on them would be the four on the community system, and then that one pre-existing dwelling, 1522, lot 11.
And so then, is lot 11 the one that is not considered in the,
Correct. So it doesn't go into the nitrogen calculations. It's not technically on the subdivision plan.
Correct.
I would be curious what the nitrogen
I
calculations
was gonna
would
say,
be
what
with
would
it,
that be?
but
Why, I guess I'm kind of curious as to why, when you look at this, it looks like they would be part of that, of the whole division. So why was not 11 part of that?
Lot 11 was originally created by itself before the subdivision was done.
Oh,
And so, because it already had a house on it, there was no need to incorporate it into the subdivision. So what's now called Lot 11 was a individual lot that existed prior to the subdivision being done, the original 8-lot subdivision. So it was never part of the subdivision process, so it wasn't subject to any conditions placed on the subdivision,
all right, so
the
that,
8-lot subdivision, when it was originally done in 2018.
all right, so that's not really part of their,
David, do you happen to know what the nitrogen summary would be with that included in it, just for the board's information?
It would be approximately the same as what you're seeing now. It'd probably be closer to 6 than 5.6, because it's a full acre of land with 4 bedrooms. It would be very close to 5, but most likely it'd be above 5.
so five for just that lot?
So it's 5.8, for the average, you mean?
Just for that lot. I don't know what it would be just for that lot.
Okay, oh, all right, then the average for all of them together, you're saying would be,
Wouldn't change much.
wouldn't change much.
Correct.
Right.
All right. Which is still under the regulations, which is, what, 10? All right. Okay,
So even though these other new lots, these other 3 lots have sorry, I apologize, I forget what you called it, like a setup. They are set up to be able to be connected to the new sewer system, which is, I believe, what we all want eventually. Isn't
Yeah.
yeah.
a system with an IA part of the variance that we had initially talked about, that they can apply for an extension?
In 2020, you
Yeah.
approved the new release of the lots with the IA.
Yeah.
If town meeting didn't promulgate the sewer, yes.
Or are you talking about the sewer connection order?
Sewer
That
connection.
if you have
That's kind of what I'm
The sewer
getting
con-
at.
Oh, yes, so they
Right.
would have
Yeah.
10 years,
Yeah.
they would have up to 10
Yeah.
years for the IA properties.
Yeah.
So
Um,
if we approve an IA now, they still have to connect to the sewer ultimately, but they have 10 years to do that, as we kind of agreed upon earlier.
Correct.
Okay, answers my question.
Unless they want to connect earlier, it might save the money.
Yeah, Chatham put that in their regulations because we had a Board of Selectmen member that just put an IA system in and wanted to get his full economic investment realized. To me, as an engineer, it makes no sense because the sewer fees are a fraction of what the yearly O&M costs are for an IA system. So it makes no sense to me why anybody would want to do it, but it's there in the regulation.
So you're saying that hooking up to the sewer system would be cheaper than setting up an IA system at this time?
And keeping it for 10 years.
No. I said if you had an IA system in place, I personally would not ask for the 10-year waiver.
Okay.
Because it would cost me $12,000 over 10 years to operate and maintain the IA system, where an average sewer fee right now is probably, what, $250 to $300 a year? So it makes no sense to me why anybody would want to invoke that 10-year grace period, but.
Yeah. Might
That
change
doesn't
his
impact
mind.
your decision tonight.
Yeah.
No, but
No.
so it's there.
It should, but-
That's, and then so these IA systems are better than, older systems that have been put in. So we're still looking to hook those up eventually down the road upon discretion of the owner. But within 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay,
Except for the community system, that wouldn't,
That
they
would-
would have to connect.
they would have to hook up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would pretty much automatically hook up because they're already connected to the internal sewer system of the subdivision, and it would be just a matter of making the connection out in the street. Out on Route 39, sorry.
All right. I don't think I had any other questions.
Recommendation from the director?
So I presented a few options that the board would consider. I would recommend requiring all the newly released property, to allow the extension, and to require all the newly released properties to have IA technology. And if for whatever reason the sewer is not available to accept flow from the property by January 1st, 2025, then I would recommend innovative alternative technology be added to the community system at that point.
How soon are they gonna connect?
So we spoke to Dan Pelletier, the water commissioner. That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Feels like it's dragging on
He
forever.
thought it would be within 2 years, but who knows?
I think they're revising it.
How many people in Chatham are hooked up already
I don't know about Chatham.
To what?
to the system, to the sewer system?
They might have started before we did.
I know that, but the question I have is, how many people have already hooked up in Chatham?
In Chatham, I don't know. In Harwich, we've just hit 15
15?
properties.
That's it, no?
Yeah.
So what's the holdup?
Well, let's finish this first. Yeah.
Getting an engineer to draft the plan
Maybe that's what it is.
is the biggest problem. We're telling new customers we are 20 weeks out and starting a new job, and that's to start the job. And in talking with some of the other engineers in the Lower Cape area, they're all just as busy. And it all started 2 years ago, just when COVID started. The building market just went crazy, and we having a difficult time to getting to new work, and it's Cape-wide. So that's the fundamental problem, and also the contractors are just as busy. You call some of the bigger companies obviously have the employee base to get to some of this stuff quicker. But a lot of the smaller contractors, you call them up and it says they'll tell you 4 months before they can get to a job. So that's primarily the holdup right now. I am the weak link.
I'm sure Bill's keeping a lot of those subcontractors busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which floors me when I hear that Truro passed, the Board of Health passed a regulation that all properties that have not been upgraded to Title V are required to hook up to upgrade to Title V within 24 months. You can't even get an engineer plan and a contractor on board in probably 8 to 10 months. And I don't know how they're going to install 300 systems, is what the number I heard, in 2 years in Truro. So it's mind-boggling sometimes. Anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am still just a little confused. The 3 additional lots that you are going to be building, when do you think they'll be completed?
As far as building homes on the lot,
Yeah,
we're not sure. It's a demand-driven part of it. So it's, when someone is interested in building a house on a lot. So it could be, yeah, it could happen in the next 3 or in the next couple years, or it could be longer. If there's a downside or a downturn to this market, it just
Yeah.
depends. So I couldn't tell you exactly.
okay. Do you have a preference on which one of these different options?
I would recommend allow the newly released lots with IA technology, and if the sewer's not available to accept flow by January 1st, 2025, then IA technology must be added to the community system, would be my recommendation. And that would come with O&M contracts, but that wouldn't, you don't have to include that in the motion if you don't want to.
And is everybody in agreement with that
Yes.
option?
Yeah, is there anything that we can put in there, depending on timing of these new lots being built? If we approve it now, and let's say, lo and behold, the sewer goes in and comes active in like 2024, but one of these lots doesn't get built until 2025. I don't expect that. Lots are going, houses are selling right and left. Is there anything that we can put in place to say, even though we approved IA for those lots today, that if the sewer is already all set up and in place, that we can say that they have to be connected to the sewer right away?
Yes, yep, they'd be required to connect to under
Yeah,
Title.
Title V already takes care of that. I don't think the Board of Health can legally issue a disposal works permit if the lot fronts on sewer.
He's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make a motion to pass
Question?
with the health directors.
Okay, you have to
Recommendation.
read it. Number 4.
So I make a motion to pass with the health director's recommendations, allowing all new release properties to have traditional systems.
Number 4.
Require all new release properties to have IA technology, and if the sewer's not acceptable flow for property by January 1st, 2025, then IA technology must be added to the community system.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay,
Great, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Have a good night. Bye.
Do you want me to do my health
Yes,
director
please,
report?
look, I just lost my page one, so.
So we had our tobacco hearing for Save on Gas. Detective Harris and I met with the clerk magistrate, and with discussion on the clerk magistrate, we agreed upon allowing to reconvene in a year. The business fired the employee, not just because of that, but a variety of issues. And they also purchased a point of sale or a POS system in response to this. So we agreed with the clerk magistrate that we would give them another year, see if the new system's working. If in a year they don't have any new violations, the fee would be waived. If they do have violations, then they'd obviously be paying the fees. So I thought that was a good hearing. We hosted a CPR and choke saver course yesterday with the Medical Reserve Corps. We had 20 restaurant establishment employees attend, which was a great service that we were able to offer. We are still attending all the Health Agent Coalition meetings. I'm actually going to the county to have a cyanobacteria conversation and some confusion with some of the testing that was done last summer by an independent agency. In department news, Carrie is applied to take her RS exam, which is really exciting. We wish her the best of luck.
When is that?
She's still waiting to get a date, so it's actually a very complicated process.
Oh, gee, okay.
It's definitely step by step. So she's made the first step.
Good for her.
We interviewed another health inspector, and we'd actually offered the position, so we're hoping that works out. We'll know sometime next week. And we also have done some site visits with the Community Development Department, which is health, planning, conservation, building, and fire, typically also attended by police. We've met at Cape Roots Cafe. We're going to meet at Witchmere Harbor, and we met at Dockside Harbor. So as to have discussions on some of the entertainment and liquor licensing. And that's all I have.
Does anybody else have this point of sale system?
For tobacco, not that I can think of. A lot of the liquor stores do.
Okay.
I'd have to look at, none that I can think of off the top of my
I was just
head,
curious.
but they might.
Okay. And,
How expensive are these point of sale scanners?
Thousands.
Yeah.
wow. And, correspondence?
So we provided a copy of the Roberts Rules of Order for the additional information that was requested at the last meeting. Also included consumer confidence report certification on the town of Harwich municipal water, if anyone was interested.
Okay. And, on to the permits. Is there a motion to accept the permits? Are there any new ones that we have?
So Jake's at Cranberry Valley and Dockside would be pending pre-opening inspection. On Delay on Wheels would be pending additional requirements, but those are the three new ones we have.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept these permits with the two under, two new ones pending?
All three new ones.
Oh, three, sorry. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the permits with the 3 new permits pending.
Second.
All in agreement? Okay. Unanimous. And anything else?
That's all I have.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn?
All in agreement?
Aye.
So what is this door valet trash service?
So we actually can't, now that the meeting's closed,